Hi everyone. Welcome, welcome. How is everyone? 20 of you so far, just admitting everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hi Lucy, hi Emily. Hi Rebecca. Yeah, so I'll just give it a few minutes. Hopefully, just let me know if you can't hear me for any reason. But yeah, I'll just give it a few minutes while if any late comers join. But yeah, please do introduce yourselves in the chat. Let me know your name, where you come from, a bit like Cilla Black, and on Blind Date, and also what you do as well. Love to just, yeah, can tailor any examples to you, and also just get to know you all a bit better as well. And I'll do a little introduction for me too. So yeah, please do introduce yourselves. How's everyone's day been? And yeah, this will just be, I've got all your questions. I think there's about 25 I've got. So hopefully just going to get through as many as possible. And maybe, and we can have a good chat in the chat box as well. I'm gonna, right, is it Thalia or Thalia? I will get this right soon. But you make candles and
Thalia.
Thalia. Thalia.
Yes.
Right, I'm gonna remember that now. Thalia. Thank you. Me and Holly are both terrible at your name, so apologies. So pairs.
That's okay. I'm very much used to it.
I bet. Makes candles and pairs and secondhand books. Got Danielle, makes accessories over at Lily Studio. Ooh. Lucy, stationery business called Leaf Lane Studio. Oh, based in Cornwall, beautiful. Love it down there. Emily's fashion and homeware designer maker. Hatti, flower essences and practice. Oh yeah, I was looking at your Instagram earlier. Holistic products like home and harmony boxes. Hi Sarah from Sister and Kin. Yeah, really gorgeous ethical accessories, jewelry. Yeah, Bex from Bramble and Fox. Focus on the cozy higgy lifestyle. Hattie's also a graphic and web designer. Lana design and handmade fashion at Lani X Studio. Jules is textile and product designer. Emily, custom pet and plant illustrations at Emily in the Whippet. I was talking to a couple of you guys earlier in the in Holly's Busy to Boss Academy as well. It's been a day of group coaching. Rebecca, handmade jewelry, based in Salisbury. It's not too far away from me. Laura sells sewing storage. Oh yeah, pegboards, based in Bristol. Hannah, owner of Restocked Vintage Clothing. Oh, just launched a couple of weeks ago. Congrats. Oh, so many of you. Oh, some more people. Need to admit them. Georgiana, based in Yorkshire, starting out with gifts and accessories. Minnie is a musician, so product and service based. Great. And Alicia. Oh yeah, Single Swan, a women's feel good clothing brand. I love how you added in feel good. Love that. Cool. Well, welcome. Yeah, so this will just be a really hopefully informal but informative chat, so feel free to have cameras off, on, whatever you want to do for you. Use the chat box, get to know, yeah, ask questions, get to know each other. And yeah, and I've got, like I said, I've got lots of questions to go through that were previously submitted. So hopefully there'll be lots of content in there that will be helpful for everyone too. I've done them in order of what they came in, apart from a few that I've like grouped together that just worked well together. And yeah, so kick off. But my name's Joanne Griffin, if we haven't met before. Oh, depending on where you came over from, if it wasn't from my Instagram, it was maybe from someone who shared it. But yeah, I really appreciate you all coming and joining today. I think it was last week when the second lockdown hit, and it was just like, I feel like I just need to be good to do something, so, and just help. So I know in retail it can feel really uncertain at the moment. But yeah, it's just such a great way. There's so much power in community, and just feeling like, you know, understanding other people can be in the same position, but also just sharing that knowledge, connecting with each other as well. And obviously it's all about the Zoom events at the moment. So Alicia, I love your cat. It's Dale. You can just see that. So yeah, so my name's Joanne. I run a business called Arnold and Bird, and I work predominantly with like home, gift, lifestyle, but that could be everything from jewelry, yeah, home products, stationery, prints, list goes on. And I help them with retail mentoring, so everything that goes along product development, wholesale, obviously marketing, looking at their sales analysis, looking at the website reviews, and just, yeah, helping them grow their sales. So just in terms of my background, I did a surface pattern degree at university, graduated in 2006, and then I've worked in retail and e-commerce ever since. And I've worked for lots of different small companies, and then I also worked at nothighstreet.com for 7.5 years. So I was like a big part of like my career, and yeah, obviously worked with 5,000 small businesses there, and then I've worked in small businesses, so I know all the hats you've got to wear, and even obviously having a business now, just all the things you've got to do. So yeah, so thanks everyone for taking time out on, well, it's a rainy Wednesday night here anyway. And yeah, I will recording this, so I'll send out a replay at some point, and I'll also try and timestamp all the questions so that if you want to go back to a certain point, then you can do as well, or let's skip ahead. So yeah, Alicia, so love the community event feeling. Oh, your cat's such a diva. Yeah, I can see she was really trying to take over there. It's always cute when pets get involved. Cool. So the first question we're going to start off with is from Bex at Bramble and Fox. So I know Bex is live on the call, and I know I've spoken to you before on Instagram. And she's asked how she can make her sales more consistent. So sales and marketing was like one of the big questions that kept coming up. And obviously it's huge at the moment, especially Q4. It's like the biggest period in retail, and everyone wants to just obviously make sales consistent. Even if your sales are really spiking now, you want to make sure that your sales are consistent throughout the year as well. So a couple of things can talk around here is like, for everyone, it's like, look at what's worked well for you to get consistent sales in, first of all. So it's good to be like a bit of a detective. I think there's been so much time doing what we think we should be doing, you know, and obviously everyone has their own opinions, whether it's like you need to get press or Instagram, whatever that is for you, build your mailing list. And obviously all of these things are like super valuable. But I think it's really important to like go in and see what has worked for you. So what is that? Is it when you send out an email to your mailing list? Is it when you post on Instagram? What sort of posts drive not only engagement, but also sales, or, you know, people clicking on that profile link as well? And then basically we just want to like replicate this in different ways. So it's really good to have a think about what is working. And then when you do this, then you want to sort of reverse engineer it basically. So you want to look at what's working and then double down and replicate it, like I said. So I think particularly with product-based businesses, it's really good to plan out your content and product launches. So hopefully everyone, well, I always ask this, but a show of hands, like how many people have something like a content calendar or like a product launch calendar that they use? Does anyone use anything like this? Because I think this is really good to be consistent. Lucy, it's getting there. Good. But yeah, it's really good to have something that you can basically use to like plan out your promotions and just check that there's no overlap really. And then it's also trying to be, then it's like helping you be consistent as well of what you're talking about. So Thalia is inconsistently using one. Minnie, sort of, I have a spreadsheet that I wander off sometimes, but it does help. Emily, awful at planning. I fall in and out from Sarah. Yeah, it is. It's, you know, it's, I think it's, the thing is with this, it's better to have a plan and, you know, and then that can change than not have a plan at all as well. So if you can have a plan, at least then, especially when it comes to with retail, obviously gets so like it's so busy the last couple of months of the year. And you then also need to be thinking ahead for like maybe, you know, Valentine's Day or Mother's Day or Easter or whatever it is, or the January sales. So it's good to sort of like plan ahead so that if you are busy, then you kind of planned ahead certain like gift occasions earlier in the year as well. So yeah, I really recommend trying to have some sort of content calendar just to make sure that if you are doing like shop updates, launches, whatever you want to call them, use them in your business, then they're not overlapping as well. And also you're coinciding them, say, with like payday or key gift occasions, or when you know your sales peak. So if you can look at when you've been, if you have been trading for a while, like if you've got at least a year, you can look back and see when your sales peak and you can work out why that was. So again, be a detective. Why was my sales peaking then? Was I featured somewhere? So press works for me. Was I, that's just Christmas, so it's a busy time of the year, or that's when a lot of weddings are going on. Obviously not so much this year, but you know, normally. And Emily said, how far ahead would you recommend planning? So I think it's really personal this, but I would definitely suggest that I would plan at least a quarter, like 3 months to 6 months in advance for the bigger picture type of things. So if you plan in product launches, things like that, or you know you're going to send out a monthly newsletter or a newsletter every 2 weeks, like just plot that in. You don't have to do the content for it, and then you can then work like back. So then it's a case of then you write your newsletters, say monthly, or you write your newsletters for the next quarter, then you write your Instagram and social media posts for the next month or the next 2 weeks or the next week even. I think sometimes it's, you can think you need to get so far ahead, but if you've kind of got that plan, then you can just get far enough ahead. So I think, like I said, have a plan and then work around it. So yeah, Bex has said, best sellers tend to be candles, garlands, tea cozies, but Instagram doesn't seem to correlate with that. It drives people to my site, but doesn't necessarily correlate with what people buy. Also been burned by Instagram poll results, not necessarily translating into sales. Yeah. So Bex, where does most of your sales come from then? Is it people obviously get driven over to your site from Instagram, from social, but do you feel like that's not what they're buying? And why do you think that is?
Yeah, exactly that. Sorry, I don't know whether
Yeah.
to have on mute.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I find that it drives people to the site. So the posts that are put on attract people to come across, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll choose those specific products to buy. So it's quite difficult to predict what to stock. I do a lot of vintage one-offs.
Yeah.
So I find weirdly I can predict that more closely than I can the contemporary core stock, just because I have a feel for what people would buy vintage wise more than have a feel for what people's perceptions are of Hugo. Because I think people think of Hugo as being quite minimal, Scandi, sort of white, whereas the sort of Hugo stuff I tend to sell is more sort of vintage cottagecore sort of style Hugo stuff. So it's sort of traditionally sort of cozy stuff.
Yeah, really.
Stuff.
Yeah, I suppose more like maybe like a bit more English cozy, or yeah, definitely. So is it more the vintage stuff that sells better for you, would you say?
No, I would say it's 50-50. For example, I've had 2 sales today, and both of those sales have had candles in them, but one's had like a mix of things. So I've had candles, like bath salts, that sort of thing, and then the other one has also included vintage in it. So it is fairly evenly split. But I find that I've taken chances on buying the contemporary stock, and then it's sort of sat around for a little while, whereas the vintage stuff, I can tend to move that more quickly, to the point where I can't sometimes keep up with trying to source the vintage stock in comparison to selling it.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like vintage obviously does well for you and you've got a good feel for it. So that is something that if you can look at growing that and maybe making a plan that maybe you like buy bigger and you spread out the launches, like planning ahead, because then that should make your sales more consistent as well, instead of maybe putting it all up at once. Maybe thinking about you launch every like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever that looks like for you. And then for the more stuff that's like wholesale, like the contemporary that you can buy in bulk, then again, maybe it's a case of thinking, I think, look at your past sales and whatever is working, try and replicate that, because the more sales data you've got, and it's for like everyone as well, the more, when you first launch and you've got no sales data, you've got nothing to go on basically. But if you've got some sales data and you know that you know what's going to work, and you can think, right, that works because it's a bath salt, or it's this scent, or it's this candle, or whatever it is about this product, and or maybe even thinking like, who buys it, who are they buying it for, then try and replicate that in other products to then, so it is something new. Because like you said, I think Instagram polls are great, but they're not people buying, so they can skew. So you need to sort of take it on what your sales are telling you as well.
Okay,
so
thank you.
But yeah, I think if you can buy more bigger in the vintage as well, and then plan out your launches, I think that should help make things consistent.
Thank you.
I hope that helps. So right, now we have Jamila. I'm just going to try and write these times down just so everyone we can find everyone's questions easily as well. Alicia, your Christmas course thing really helped me this year. I've never properly planned Christmas launching before, and it worked so well and gave me lots of ideas. Oh, thanks, Lucy. Yeah. So I wrote a Get Prepared for Christmas course with Catherine Erdley from Resilient Retail Club. She used to be Future Retail, and yeah, it's a good little course. It's £25 and we update it every year, so it's worth getting. But yeah, I'm glad to hear it's done well. So Jamila has said, what is the current situation for the retail industry now that we're in lockdown 2? So basically, lockdown 2 is like the worst timing for retail. Obviously, Christmas is the busiest period for retail, along with restaurants and pubs and everything. So, people buy at this time of the year. Basically, they're going to buy presents. They're out to shop. So it's what obviously taught us in the first lockdown is online is more important than ever. So if you are a bricks and mortar shop, having a good online presence is crucial. So definitely like looking at your website, trying to like optimize that as much as possible. When I say that, thinking about when people land on your homepage, is it really clear that there's banners of like what it is that they can buy from you, that your best sellers are right at the front as well, that there's categories that they can see that they can buy from, again, your best-selling categories that they can go to, that it tells a customer what your brand is about. And I'll go into this in other questions, but more like like, you know, your purpose, your why, you know, why people should come and shop with you, that there's information about you. The about page is one of the most like clicked on. There's places to contact, there's details about delivery, you know, especially at the moment, you know, making people aware how long things are going to take, or that you are still sending out orders as well. So online is really, really important. And as well as having that like online community as well. So if you can really, and I think I'll talk about this quite a lot, but with social media, be social, engage with people, you know, don't just go on there and scroll and not engage. But yeah, I think about how else you can sell as well. I know there's been a lot of online fairs from places like Crafty Fox Market and Pedal that I know a lot of people are doing really well on. But yeah, again, just work out what, like I was saying with Vex's question just before, work out what is doing well for you and, you know, double down on that. But there are people who are doing really well at the moment. So people are buying. So, you know, take heart from that. And actually Caro, who has just joined, did ask, so I'll sort of jump into her question as well now, did say, I think sometimes there is, especially at Christmas, it's like everyone's doing well and I'm not, or I'm not doing as well as I think I should be. And there's these people who have got these stacks of orders that are like everywhere, and that can feel disheartening. You know, in any type of business, even if you're in service based and you're like, oh well, you know, they've got loads of like clients or they've got loads of orders. So obviously there is just definitely something here around that you need to sort of not compare yourself to someone's middle like journey, you know, or like towards their end. If you're sort of at the beginning, you know, everyone has to go through their journey. So I'm just going to scroll down to my notes there, but if you can, like, celebrate those people as well, you know, reach out to them. If I think sometimes it can be quite triggering, and if it can, reach out to them and sort of congratulate them, because then you sort of remember that they're human too and they're doing really well. And actually there's people who are doing really well at the moment. So one of them is White Rain Designs, and she's a ceramic designer that I follow, and she actually posted up like these huge towers of orders that were going out, but then she literally posted a picture of her baby next to about 7 orders, and she was like, this was only a couple of years ago, so it's not like it's been like this all the time. So, and it's quite important to remember that these people haven't been having like these crazy orders. So if you can change the energy, if you can reach out and congratulate them, and yeah, focus on your business. But yeah, I know Caro is the queen of this because she has got such good energy and can definitely shake it off and dance it off. But yeah, like I'm gonna say a lot, like you've got to focus on what's working for you as well. So yeah, so I just sort of jumped around there, but yeah, I hope that helps with Jamila if you're here. I don't know, I see you, and Caro. And right, so let's go Lucy. So let me write the time down. So yeah, Lucy is Leaf Lane Studios, so she does stationery. So she has said, at the moment I am creating products, launching and selling on my website and Etsy. I'm wondering what steps to take to up level my business. Long term, I'd love to get products into shops and grow my business, but I'm just wanting to know how I can push for. And then your question got cut off, Lucy. So if you want to like unmute or say what the end of that was.
I can't quite remember, but,
Yeah.
but I think basically, because it's only been this year that because I do wedding stationery as well, just to like fill everybody in, but because of COVID and stuff, that hadn't built momentum yet. So I focused purely really on my general stationery. And this year it's happened to have done really well, just because I guess, I don't know, whatever reason, people are buying more online or what have you, and I'm really grateful for that. But I like to plan ahead, and I kind of want to, although I know it's really new to me still, I just want to know, in terms of growing my business, because it is just me and it is a lot to juggle, especially my last launch was really busy and that was great. But if I want to move my business forward, I don't really know what the next steps are to do that, which probably sounds really daft to a lot of people, but I just think, okay, obviously it's early days for me yet. I've just had a great kind of last 3 launches went really, really well. And I just want to be able to plan and be able to just like focus on that positive, okay, cool, I'm going to grow and this is how I do that. I don't really know what that looks like.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the thing as well. There's so many options you can go for. It's like, do you want to do wholesale? Do you want to do press? Do you want to sell on lots of different marketplaces? Do you want to focus on social media? Do you want to focus on influencers and outreach, Pinterest, blogging, adverts? You know, there's
this is why I don't know the answer, because my brain goes, oh yes.
Yeah. So basically there's shiny object syndrome, and it's like, let's do everything. So I think in terms of like, just be aware of that, and that there is a lot of options to choose from. But if you have a look at what's working for you, so it sounds like launching does work for you.
I've never done it until this year, and joining Holly's Academy and the advice that you guys have given. I've never planned a launch before until this year. I did 2 limited edition boxes of stationery, which was inspired by your Christmas course where you guys mentioned doing limited edition, and they both sold out.
Okay,
so that was cool.
Amazing. Yeah. So
and then the latest one went really well as well, so that works for me.
Okay, so limited edition works well and launching works well. So it's good to understand that is you know, working, and that is obviously and is that selling direct, so on your mailing list, on your site, on social media?
Yeah, a lot of I've only got about 200 people on my mailing list. I've only focused on growing it this year, but it seemed to work really well for the launch I did 2 weeks ago. And then on Instagram, I'm getting a lot of repeat customers and a lot of people that are now, you know, when it's what it's like when you start, when it's just your friends and family and a few people you know. But now I'm getting a lot more people that are finding me from elsewhere via Instagram. So I'm trying to get them onto my mailing list, and I'm trying to keep hold of them. So that's working really well as well.
Okay, so I think definitely just keep concentrating on what is working well. So you want to grow your mailing list. So whether that is giving people more of an incentive to join it, you know, maybe having things that are more exclusive just for your mailing list subscribers, you know, whether it be discounts or freebies, you know, like free printables that you can do, for example.
I do that now, and that's what I did for my latest launch. That worked really well.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And then in terms of, obviously you do get good conversion from your Instagram as well. So I think the thing is, like, brain dump everything down and sort of then write down ideas under each area of, like, you know, if you were to work with, say, outreach and influencers, for example, so, you know, being featured on different accounts, doing like story takeovers, for example, you know, who could you do that, because the thing is, working with outreach or influencers, some are going to work really, really well and some won't. But you know, you've got to like try that. So you know, if this is an area that you think that would be good because it will grow my social media and then I can get people across to my mailing list, then brain dump all the ideas of people who you think it would work well with, and then just like trial that. I think in terms of, again, if you also sort of said about sort of planning ahead, so maybe it's the case of each month or each quarter, again with Holly's planning parties, have a bit of a focus. So one month it's just like, I'm just going to go really hard on contacting, or I'm just going to go really hard trying to be featured on people's podcasts. And the next month I'm going to go really hard on gifting influencers, for example, you know, and then you can sort of see what is working and then repeat that again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think having that plan, and especially planning, I think if you can plan out because obviously if launches is doing really well for you, if you can start planning out your next 3 to 6 months of launches, because, you know, in January, and you think about what the customer is thinking and when. So in January, new year, new you, particularly for 2021, I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking that. But they'll be thinking about calendars, they'll be thinking about planners, they'll be thinking about, you know, getting organized, getting, I don't know, fit, getting, you know, getting all their dreams that, you know, for their New Year's resolutions that they want to do. You know, Valentine's Day, then it's, you know, February, it's more, what can you do for maybe couples, or for like Valentine's Day, for example. Then Mother's Day, what kind of Mother's Day gifts can you do? So start planning all of these things ahead.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, so you can
I tend to write down all those important days, you know, I go through the online and find all those days, and I try and think, what can I do for this on Instagram, or, you know, But yeah, you're right. I think I just need to try a few other things. But you know what it's like when you're on your own and you're like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah, I think and that's what I mean, there's so much you can do, but think about what is working. Like if you know there's certain things that if certain people have shouted you out on Instagram and that's worked well, then who else is similar to that? Or so
I look a lot at Annie Dawn Smith's stuff. I don't know if she's done really well. She's sent quite a lot of stuff out to a couple of influencers, and that seems to have gone really well for her. But like you say, you don't know what's going to work for you till you try it. So thank you. That's
exactly.
Really
yeah, and Caro said earlier, you don't know the full story as well. So you could get loads of followers and there'd be like no sales, or or you might not get no followers but you get loads of sales. So
absolutely, I'm a massive believer in my little audience. I've got about 1,300, almost 1,400 followers, but I know them, not all of them obviously, but I know a lot of them really, really, really well, and I love that, and I want to spend time to organically grow that and really keep those people. So that's really important to me.
I know. And also, you say little audience, if you had 1,300 people in front of you, you'd be everyone would be like freaked out. So
I know, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. That's really nice of you to answer my question.
No worries. Well, yeah, I hope it helped. Let me just have a look. Congratulations, Lucy. Sounds like you know your next step. That's amazing. Yeah, I agree. Just you've got all the answers inside of you. Sometimes you just need to talk it out though. I think working things like this, sometimes it's just you really need to talk them out. So yeah, Bex, the fan collaborations work really well and gaining new followers without having to gift it influencers. Yeah, my main account has grown by 700 followers in June. It's amazing. Your Christmas course looks really good. Is it too late to be looking at that now? Should I be looking at it for next year, Rebecca? So if you buy it this year, like I said, you will get updates for it next year, so it's definitely worth doing. There's still things that you could definitely implement, so if you did want to grab it, then I would totally recommend it. So yeah, the link's in my bio as well. It's on arnoldandbird.com. So yeah, Juliette from Etty Shop. How do you start to think about wholesaling your products and how to contact companies, e.g. ASOS, Topshop, Urban Outfitters? So let's do a timestamp. So with wholesale, so I'm just going to run through all the steps of getting your products wholesale ready. And then there's a couple of other people who've asked wholesale questions as well. So I've just grouped these together just so it's a bit easier. So you want to get your products wholesale ready to begin with. So thinking about the packaging and sort of display. So when if you're just selling online, you can send out your products in a bit of tissue paper or however you send them out. But in wholesale, depending on what it is, some products can obviously just sit, maybe notebooks can sit on the shelf, but some products, if it's clothing, might need like hangers, for example, or like swing tags, or you've got to really think about what that is to get your product wholesale ready for your product, and also taking into consideration anything that the retailer might need. So I would definitely suggest, if you're just starting out of wholesale, to go with the more indies first of all, just to get your process down and understand it. As soon as you start working with like bigger, like Topshop, Urban Outfitters, John Lewis, Liberty, they're going to start needing like barcodes on your products, which is something you've got to go out and get and buy, and because they're obviously individual to your products. So and they are so much more fussy with how you have to deliver your products to them, particularly places like John Lewis. I've worked with, in my last company, worked for Thalia and the Buttons, which is a sewing pattern company, and we sold the products into John Lewis. And you've got to go through really specific ways to deliver your products to them as well, and how you accept orders and all of that. So if you're just starting off with wholesale, then I definitely recommend just getting the process in place with more smaller independent shops to begin with. You then need to think about your pricing. So in terms of a wholesale markup, you want to take your recommended retail price, RRP, and divide it. I'm going to say 2.4. Basically, there's an average between 2.2 and 2.5, but most people use 2.3, 2.4. So this gives, say I'm really bad at maths now. So, but yeah, so say your product is £20, then the wholesale price is £8. That's not right. My maths is not great. And then, and then basically your cost of the product to you, say, is £3, because obviously you need to make money on the wholesale price, and then the retailer needs to make the money when they've got their markup on it as well. I'll also just say, with recommended retail price, it's recommended, you cannot enforce it. So you can't tell people what to sell your product for, because that is against the law. So just make sure when you are doing your prices, so yeah, taking your retail price, dividing it by that 2.4, for example, to get your wholesale price, check you are making enough profit. So, really thinking about, yes, I am then making enough profit on what it actually costs me to like make, buy, the hours spent in that, and that you then have enough profit to wholesale as well. If you are looking to wholesale, you need at least a 70 to 80% profit margin on your product, just generally on it. So yeah, check your prices. So you don't want to be wholesaling, because the thing is with wholesale, you're obviously not making as much money, but you are selling in bulk. So that's like the point of it. And especially and the other point of it is another way of outreach marketing. It's getting your products in front of different customers, with different brands. And then especially if you do get to the point of selling with bigger companies like Urban Outfitters, John Lewis, then that's a whole bigger point of marketing as well. Most of those bigger companies as well will squeeze your wholesale price down even further. John Lewis does, for sure. Then you want to create a line sheet. So in terms of this, you can just use this in something like PowerPoint. I used to create line sheets for Tilly and the Buttons in PowerPoint, because then it's really easy to change it yourself as well. But yeah, you basically just want a bit about your company, maybe some customer or press testimonials, why, telling the buyers about your products and your brand. And then you want all the products lined up with the wholesale price and the recommended retail price, and then maybe a little bit of blurb about them, maybe grouping them together if you do have multiple different product categories, grouping them together in the categories. Then you need information on basically how to order, what is the minimum wholesale order. A lot of people will say that is £100 for the first order and £50 for reorder. What is shipping? What are the terms and conditions? How to order? So you need a line sheet. You can then start creating catalogs, but a line sheet is the bare minimum. You then need to start finding leads. So this is why starting small with like smaller independent shops, you want to find leads. It'd be good if you can sort of build up a bit of engagement with them before you start selling to them. So just start commenting on their Instagram, social, going into their shop, just warming them up. But yeah, just finding a big, all the leads that you want to contact, creating a spreadsheet as well with them, so you can mark down all of your contact you've had with them. And you want to contact them more than once as well, particularly if you were to contact them at the moment, they're probably pretty busy with Christmas. So, don't just email a business and then be like, I never heard back, they're not interested in my products. No. So if you do email them, you can go into stores, obviously not right now at the moment, but if you do go into stores, make sure you go in at a pretty quiet, what would be a quiet time for them. So like a Tuesday morning at like 10 a.m, for example, not like a Saturday morning. But you want to make your email introduction, you want to personalize it to them. So find out their name, particularly with the bigger companies. If you are pitching to them, go on LinkedIn. You can then find like, there's email finders where you can put in like their name and just work out what like their email would be. You can send packs to like maybe a pack to sort of bigger retailers as well. So, or even a bigger indie that you really want to be stocked with, for example. So, maybe you send them a sample of your product. I wouldn't recommend doing this to everyone, but maybe something in the post so it gets your product really in front of them. you want to talk about, when you pitch to them, how your products will benefit them. It's all about them at the end of the day. You want to talk about what you sell in like the first 2 paragraphs of your email as well, and send a few couple of like low res images, or, you know, or maybe your line sheets as well. But like I said, the thing is to keep contacting them as well. Don't just email them once, never hear back. Keep them updated with any press you're featured in, any kind of other things you're featured in, any blogs, for example, any new product launches, just anything that you can go to them with something new. But my friend Therese at Small Business Collaborative has, if you head to her blog, she's got, especially if you're looking to pitch to ASOS, Topshop, bigger retailers like that, then she has a blog post on nailing your pitch with larger retailers. So I would definitely recommend looking at that as well. Right, so Georgina, it may be worth adding extra buffer into pricing with people like John Lewis for delivery, as they mostly only accept time deliveries for a specific delivery slot, which can cost a lot with the courier. Hopefully the size evens this out. Yeah, so exactly, Georgina's really right. When I worked with Tilly and the Buttons, they ended up doing, I think they called it like a back hauler store delivery or something, but we would book in through their My Hermes delivery. Their deliveries had to come on the back of a lorry. We had to send them on the back of a lorry, basically. So you can't just send it by, you know, normal My Hermes or FedEx or whatever. It's got to go on the back of a lorry. So this is how it's and it was actually quite cheap, I think, how they did it, but it was worth doing it. And you know, every different pattern had to be in a different box, had to be labeled in a certain way. You know, I think they took about maybe even like 90p off the wholesale price that we were charging. So, you know, this is why you really need to make sure you've got a good profit margin for wholesale, but particularly if you're going to be selling into the bigger companies as well, because Liberty is not so bad. They're a bit easier, but then they are one shop, whereas John Lewis is a lot of shop. Once had a late delivery to John Lewis in the back of a Mini Cooper. Warehouse was not impressed. Yeah, and I used to live in Milton Keynes, right next to Magna Park, with their massive warehouses. So yeah, I know you wouldn't even be able to do that now because it's got to go on the back of a lorry. So it's crazy. But yeah, so that's why I always recommend starting off with indies first, instead of, because although it would be great to be stocked in John Lewis, get your wholesale process down first. So Derya 43 has asked, what is the latest date I should approach retail stockists about my products for Christmas period? So I would say it is quite late to approach them for Christmas this year. There's June, July is the key time that buyers will be looking to buy for Christmas, if not earlier. But you know, that is generally Top Drawer, Pulse, which doesn't go on anymore, but those trade shows would be going on in June time for a lot of buyers looking to bring in Christmas products. So you could still approach them, but most retailers are in their busiest period, so you might not hear back. It could be worth just starting that contact with them, or, you know, just beginning your wholesale process. But, you know, email them and then you can follow up with them again in a few weeks or even in the new year. Like I said, don't just email them once and then not contact them again. But especially if they are more like the independent retailers as well, or like slightly smaller businesses, you know, engage with them on social media so that when they do hear from you on an email or you go into their shop, they're sort of familiar with you. So it's really worth, you know, trying to build up a kind of relationship with them as well. Caro, wholesale feels so overwhelming, but this is all gold. Yeah, it's, you've got to get processes in place, but once you have them in place, they're there. So it's totally doable. But yeah, it's like I said, check out Therese's information. She's got loads of great resources, and yeah, always happy to chat wholesale as well. And then Laura's also asked a wholesale question. So is the new year a good time to approach new wholesalers? Is there a time when retailers look for new stock? So yeah, so like I said, the main trade shows, again, Top Draw runs normally, when it's not COVID, in January and June. So those are really key buying times for buyers. There's also Maison et Objet, which is a massive trade show in Paris. That's like 9 halls, like 9 huge NEC style halls. It takes like 2 days to go around. But yeah, they run in January and September as well. So there is like key points where the key trade shows are going on. There is trade shows, you know, throughout the year, but you know, people will be buying, you know, seasonally. So thinking about, you know, their Christmas products and things like that. So I think in terms of, especially if it's indies as well, you know, I suppose that's a question you can ask them, you know, is, you know, if you're contacting them and you're not hearing back, you know, maybe say, is there a time when you take, you know, when you look, you ask them a question so they engage back with you? Is there a time when you bring on like new stockists, you know, so I can come and pitch to you then, or I can get back in contact with you then? That is a question that you could ask them too. So, but I think most indies in particular will, you know, it's more fluid kind of thing. So hope that helps. Didn't do that. 44. Great. So Alicia has said, how do I make a mission statement commercially viable while retaining my authentic voice? So mission statement can feel like quite a big thing to do, like your why, your purpose. I definitely recommend watching the Simon Sinek. He's got a book called Start With Why. I think if you search Simon Sinek TED Talk, it's a really, really old one. I think it's about 18 minutes long. Maybe it's like the Golden Circle or something. But yeah, he talks about why and purpose a lot. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Basically, the whole premise is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So when you're thinking about your mission statement, really want to think about why you do what you do. And a couple of different ways to go on about this, to think about this, is think about what gets you on your soapbox. What if, you know, you could keep banging on about. So, you know, I always think, for me, I'm really anal about how I recycle. You know, if it's not like dry, you know, like you know, people put all the recycling in wet and it's all going to clump together, and like, or, you know, or people don't recycle everything they could do, or they recycle, you know, plastic bags in the wrong way. You know, so things like sustainability then is like important value to me. You know, think about what is important to you. And tie this back with your values as well. So think about what your personal values are and how that ties into your business values too. I do have a free download on my newsletter. So I don't know, this was the first time I'd ever done a landing page, full transparency. So I don't know when you signed up, if you got like my welcome email, but there was a free brand USP PDF workbook on there. So that will give you some questions to work through for this as well, Alicia. But you basically, what's quite good is to sort of think about loads of words that help like do sum you up as a business, or what are important to you. And then asking these questions like, why do you do what you do, what your values are, and then creating this why, how, what, and for statement. So for example, there's like, take a company like Lush, for example, like they obviously really care about sustainability, you know, using less packaging, that their packaging, that you bring it back and it gets used again, that it's all natural, that you have to add your own water into things instead of, you know, so they don't add in all of these other chemicals. So that is, you know, what they do. This, like, Lush is all about like really sort of natural beauty that sort of is, you know, sustainable, and obviously certain ones are very vegan friendly as well. But then on the upturn of that is they're producing beauty products, but that is not the main focus yet when you go into a Lush store. So, or a company like Patagonia, for example, are all about, you know, if their product breaks, you bring it back and they will fix it for you, or they will recycle it for you as well, or give you a new one. So, you know, they're about having really long lasting products. So, you know, that's obviously bigger sustainability. You know, your why could be more about like mental health, for example, or about, you know, empowering people. It could be about bringing out your, just because Caro is here, your inner goddess. So yeah, all of these different things. So really thinking about what is important to you. And then really, so then if you start with the why, so why you do what you do, empowering people, sustainability, how you do that, so what are your like processes, then what you make, and then who you do it for. So when it comes to your ideal customer, there's loads of questions that you can ask yourself, but I think if you've got a customer base already, think about if you've got an ideal customer, and then just pick them and, you know, use them and just use them to talk around as well. So, or maybe there's like a friend or a friend of a friend who like, they're just like my ideal customer. So, you know, maybe picking like one of them and then talk a little bit about them. So they are, you know, they're kind of, you know, a female who wants to be more confident in her style, and wants to be more unique, but, you know, is looking for really bright fashion accessories to bring that out for her because she's not ready to go all over rainbow crazy yet, something like that. So I hope that helped. Also, I feel like, I know I said this was an hour. I nearly said it was going to be like an hour and a half. It's definitely going to go over. So if anyone needs to jump off, then please do, and I'll send the replay. So people are saying they really like the Simon Sinek video, and the book, The Infinite Game helps you with your just cause or your mission statement. Alicia, fab, thanks so much. Great, I'm glad that helped. Right, Hatti. So I know Hatti, I think, was on the call earlier. If you're still here, I would like to know how to sell my holistic products. So I'll say that, I think I said this at the beginning of the call, but in terms of how to sell them, so sort of reverse engineer the sale. So I think particularly with your products, when I had a little quick look at your site, they're obviously very holistic, like floral, herbal remedies. So think about how you help people. What is the transformation you and your products provide people? So really, you know, start with that, start with the value, start with the transformation that you can give people. Also, I think I looked at your social media profile. So I think you should really add a bit more about what you sell in your profile and your name. Everyone should do this here. Make sure your name is in your Instagram bio. It's I just want to know who I'm talking to. If someone leaves me a comment, I'll always go over and I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, thanks, you know, Alicia, Lucy, you know, Mary, you know. And if I can't find their name, I'll often go onto their website to like try and find their name. But yeah, so add your name and photos of you. And I think just in terms of, so really think about what the value and the transformation of your products, and then what content you can create around this. So, you know, brain dump again, loads of ideas about how your product helps people. What is the transformation it creates? You know, really thinking about that. And as well with this, and particularly with, I think with particularly with your products, Hatti, but I'm sure with loads of other people, everyone here, you're all like creative product-based businesses. Use video, you know, just to show you packing orders, making products, drawing, painting, you know, everything that you do. There's just so much valuable content there that you can just, people just love to sit and watch that. So you know, really use video to your advantage, even if it's not video of your face. I know a lot of people can be really put off this, but maybe it's like your hands or an overhead one. Just rig up a camera or like a bit of, you know, on a book that's overhanging or something. But yeah, cool. Caro's got to put her daughter to bed. Come back later, Hatti. Thank you. Hatti, how did you do overhead one? So I did buy, I think it was from Primark. It was actually because I know there was another someone on Instagram, but it was like a bendy armed with like two big clips, like a clip for the camera and a clip to put on. So something like that. If you search on, I don't want to say Amazon, but yeah, like a sort of a kind of a tripod type thing, then that's quite good for, yeah, overhead. But if it's just your hands, you know, you could just pile up some books and just hang the camera over top as well. Have a play anyway. Right, Reema 56. So finding the niche or product to start an e-commerce business. So I don't know if Reema's on the call. I don't know what you are thinking about, Reema, but this is massive. So I think with this, what I would suggest is, because you've not given any idea of what you want to do, but again, what are you passionate about? What do you want to make? What are your ideas? You know, I think in terms of this, you've got to start writing things down. You've got to start developing your ideas out. So start kind of start small in a way, but start by brain dumping everything, you know, working out all the different things you want to do, developing those products just by making notes, maybe making sketches, you know, what you're thinking of doing. Then really start with some market research maybe. So, you know, send out surveys to your friends if you don't have a following already, but, you know, get specific, ask specific and open-ended questions to just really get into like that's around your ideas that you're thinking about. But, you know, if you can get some like feedback on your ideas and work out, right, what do people want, what do people need help with, how can things improve their lives. But yeah, just start doing some market research, thinking about who your ideal customer is, who's going to buy this product. But just, I think just start creating. Like, done is better than perfect with this. If you just got loads of ideas swimming in your head, you need to get them out. And by starting is like the only way that you're going to learn. It's nothing, and I'm sure everyone who is here, who when they, depending on whatever you are in your journey, when you first started, nothing is how it is now. It's all been refined and you're developing it as you go along, whether it is a case of developing your marketing, refining your product range, cutting things out that didn't work, adding things in that did work. But you've just got to start, really. Rebecca said, gooseneck phone holder is the thing I use for overhead filming. Oh, that's it. So gooseneck phone holder, got stash. Thanks for joining, Rebecca. Right. Ruthie from calligraphy 59. So what do you think small businesses should do for Cyber Weekend, if at all? So I'm going to clump all of these. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, January sales, all different marketing opportunities, all different things that retail businesses use. This is really personal because a lot of small businesses hate Black Friday because it's not meant for them. Obviously Amazon and Walmart brought it over to the UK, and you know, and it just, Black Friday has sort of pushed, you know, people will wait to see if companies will discount. As small businesses, you don't have as big profit margins generally, you know, it's not great for profit margins, and your most busiest time of the year, then you've got to discount as well. And then it also just creates such a squeeze of all the sales in that one weekend, and then you've then just got to try and get them all out. So I think you've got to decide, again, going back to sort of your personal mission statement, your purpose, your values, you know, do you like Black Friday yourself, or Cyber Monday, or whatever it is? But I think you've got to tap in and work out what you want to do and what feels good for you. But my advice is, it's like the 11th of November, Black Friday is the 27th of November. Decide what you're doing now and stick to it. So, you know, just because I think if you, again, make a plan, if you can make a plan, then you've got your plan and you can stick with it. Otherwise it can come to like 2 days before Black Friday, the whole world is discounting, you know, everyone's going crazy, you know, you see all those DFS sofa adverts, you know. I think I saw an advert the other day actually for Black Friday, November, like the whole month this company was doing. And it was just like, you know, these companies, the more you get into discounting, the more customers will expect it, and then they won't want to pay full price as well. So, you know, make a plan. And maybe it's a case of you do something for Small Business Saturday because that feels better for you, or for January sales. The thing as well with Black Friday is, obviously the general is a discount. It doesn't have to be a discount. You know, maybe it's something you offer free shipping for that weekend, for example. Or if you spend over a certain amount, you get a free gift, and maybe that free gift is something that hasn't sold in your product range, so it's a way of like getting rid of it as well. Maybe you just do something for your top customers, so you send out a discount code or free gift card, a little present to your top customers, or maybe you do a donation to charity as well. The one thing I would say about Black Friday, January sales, all of that, is it is a great way to move stock that isn't selling. And if you've got stock that isn't selling in your business, just think about that as piles of money sat there. So, you know, you want to get rid of it. If it's been sat there for quite a while, you do want to get rid of it. So it is a good way to do that. It is a good way to drive sales to your whole product range. You don't have to discount your whole product range. I think the way Black Friday can work well is if you do sell on marketplaces. So obviously there's a lot more noise on marketplaces, and as well with if you sell on something like nothighstreet.com or Etsy, you know, you're not driving customers there, you're driving customers to your site at the end of the day. So it is a way to, you know, get your products boosted in their algorithms, you know, sell maybe some stock through there, for example. So that is a good way to do Black Friday if that's what you want to do. But again, it is a very personal choice. Ruthie, haha, I always say I won't do it, but then I feel like I have to do something. Last year I did some exclusives over Cyber Weekend, and then again a Small Business Saturday. Exactly, because you get caught up in the hype. It's like suddenly everyone in the world is discounting. You feel, oh my God, I've got to discount. Or maybe you're a bit worried about sales and looking externally. So yeah, even if you can make a bit of a plan, or you do like do some exclusives, or maybe the thing is as well, there's a lot of noise around Black Friday. So if you did launch something, I kind of feel like it kind of gets drowned out a little bit probably. So yeah, is again why it's good to think about planning your promotions, because if you're going to launch a new product, then maybe it's not going to get the attention it deserves. Great. So Ruthie said, I'll have a think and stick to it. Good. Cool. So Danielle at Lily Studio. Just take some water. So Danielle asked, when can you say you're a sustainable / eco-conscious brand? So I'm just going to run through the differences between ethical, sustainable, all of those types of things. So ethical is when your focus is on people. So you are paying them a fair wage, for example. Slow fashion, home, that's all about you're keeping products for a long time. There's smaller collections. It's not trend led. Sustainable is when it's about the environment. So it's environmentally friendly. There's like renewable organic materials. There's not, the effect of production doesn't affect the environment. For example, vegan is that it's no animal products or no animals are harmed. So they're the differences between, because I think sometimes, and I know brands do get, you know, all of these things can kind of get lumped together. So, you know, you say, oh, I'm an eco-conscious brand, and like, oh, well, you're not being ethical, or you're not being vegan, for example. So it's really important to distinguish what you are, like whether it's ethical, you know, whether it's about people or the environment or about animals. It's important to work out where your values are. Obviously, try wouldn't be good to everything, but think about where you are putting your values and what your focus is on. And I think as a small business, you're really you're in such a good position to promote this to your customers. So, you know, you can take customers on the journey of what you're doing, and you can be really transparent with them as well. Like, you can be honest that, you know, you don't have everything maybe exactly where you want, but you're making these changes, for example. So own up to what you're doing and what you're changing. You know, take your customers along your journey, why it's important to you. So again, that why, that purpose, you know, it's another way to talk about your brands and, you know, tap into what's important to you. So then in turn, what is important to your customers as well. But do a little review of your processes in terms of sustainable, eco-conscious, you know, where you are. Looking to do some more research into, right, if I want to be a sustainable brand and I want sustainable materials and production, what does that mean in my industry? Where am I sourcing my products from? What is this supply chain look like? Where can I do better? How is that going to impact my product margins, my prices? Because, you know, you have to consider these things as well. And yeah, and how will that affect? And then how will you then in turn to implement that in your company as well? I hope that helped, Danielle. And then Elle. So yeah, I know we've gone over. Like I said, I should have said it was 90 minutes. But then, you know, didn't know if I'd have like any questions. So so yeah, so Elle, is it best to create the content yourself in the beginning or pay someone to do this for you? I do not have a product yet, so I'm trying to build brand awareness and following pre-launch. So first off, Elle, tick, 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 that you're building your following before you launch anything. This is definitely such a good thing to do. Then you can just see what works in terms of what your followers engage with, what brings you more followers. There's no pressure for you to sell. You can literally just create content, start engaging with people, having conversations, being social, and yeah, seeing what works. So definitely that's good. And then in terms of should you do it yourself in the beginning, I'm a big advocate that yes, you should. So especially as a small business, especially I can imagine if you are a bit more of a personal brand too, you know, you're going to know your brand better than anyone else. You're going to sell it better than anyone else. So you should definitely create this yourself. So in terms of creating content, one of the ways, content marketing is a great way to do this. It's just talking about what your customers want, what interests your customers, and how, and in a way that relates to your product and your brand. So you can have those conversations, and in turn then, you know, gets them interested in that, and then they obviously want to then learn more about your brand and go on and buy. That is the aim. It's obviously a bit more of a longer tail strategy. There's no short-term bullets here, but so in terms of this, thinking about content pillars is a great way to look at your content. So listing down 3 to 5 pillars of it's like 3 to 5 pillars of topics that you can cycle through. So whether it is a case of sustainability is one that you talk about, creativity and how the arts and making the arts, you know, like it is a profession, that's something else you want to talk about, and then empowering women is another one you want to talk about. So you've got, say, those 3 topics, and then you list under those all of the different things you can do. So sustainability, you talk about where you get your products made, you talk about the process, you talk about the materials you use, you talk about the behind the scenes of it, you know, just listing down lots of different content ideas under each pillar. So, but yeah, so really thinking about when you are looking at creating these content pillars, what you stand against, and then flip it and what you stand for, and then looking at your values and looking at that, your purpose and business mission statement as well. But yeah, there's no shortcut with this. So that's why building your following before you launch anything is a great thing to do. It's a learning process. You'll always evolve, but yeah, you just want to talk about what your customer is talking about here. Cool. So, Alicia disappearing. Thank you for joining. Right, so Georgiana. Georgiana would love as many content Insta stories ideas as possible. So like I was just saying with that content pillar exercise, start there. That is definitely where to begin with this. And then in terms of like content and Insta story ideas, so I was part of a membership called Project Storyline by Alex Beeden that was really great for, basically gave you a prompt every day of what to post on your Instagram stories. Something like that I would definitely recommend. I think even if you Google like Instagram story prompts or look on Pinterest, there'll be so many people doing like free versions of this as well, so you can get loads of ideas. And I've just seen Rachel Emma Waring, who she is a creative business owner. She's actually more doing service at the moment. She's also like a huge Pinterest whiz, but she's just done 30 creative content ideas as like a free download, so definitely recommend checking her out. But I did have a look through some of my old Project Storyline prompts. So taking people behind the scenes, sharing testimonials. I feel like I'm going to go through these really quickly. You can talk about something people believe in your industry or about your products, but that isn't true. So you can flip it. So, you know, say if you're a food blogger, for example, most people believe you shouldn't eat carbs if you're on a diet. I'm here to tell you that's not true. So you can talk about that. Using a mixture of video, text and photos in your stories and on your grid as well. I mean, video is queen at the moment. I was going to say king, but I'm going to say queen. You could do a tour of your website. You could highlight certain blog posts and share one tip, so it encourages people to go over to your site to read the rest of the blog post. You could do an ask me anything, but maybe give people prompts. You know, ask me anything about watercolor painting if that's your niche. You could do a story about you, your purpose, why you do what you do. You could show people your product development process. You could show people sneak peeks. You could talk about how you overcame a challenge in your business, whether it's maybe creating a product or how you launched or something like that. You could share a book, an app, music, or something like that that you love, that again relates to your ideal customer, and you know that this is something they'll be interested in as well. You could think about what lifts your mood and share that. You know, thinking about, I think with all of this is you want to educate, you want to entertain, and you want to inspire. So think about how they're all different ways to provide value. So think about how you can do this. You can tell stories, you can do a work with me Wednesday, you can talk about what you're passionate about, you can talk about what annoys you, but yeah, just link it to your business basically. So oh, I didn't do write down Georgiana's name then, but I didn't do the timestamp, so yeah, helpful. Right, Hannah from Restock. So I know you were here earlier, Hannah. So tips on how to gain followers on social media, and is it essential to be on multiple social platforms? So don't be on all social media platforms. Don't try and do it all. I think try 1, 2, and yeah, and just go all in on that platform, and then you can expand. I think when you're thinking about what platform to use, think about what you like to use, because there's no point thinking, all right, all my customer, you know, LinkedIn, for example, and you hate LinkedIn. There's just, you're not going to do it. So think about the platform you like to use, but also think about where your ideal customer is hanging out as well. Either your customers because you know they're there, or an ideal customer if you don't have customer, if you're just starting as well. So yeah, just yeah, really think about what your where you want to go, and just focus only on a few, I would suggest, to start with. And you know, I think it was Lucy who was saying earlier, you know, like my small following of 1,300 people, if you had 30 people in a room, you'd be like, and you had to stand up and speak, I think a lot of people would be a bit like, oh god, that's like a lot of people. If there's like 1,000 people in a room, it's like, that's a lot of people to talk to. So I think with anything, put your all in. You need to be your own hype woman. You just need to, you know, bring your own hype, you know, talk as if you're talking to 30,000 people or 30 people in the same way. So again, I think a couple of people were saying earlier, you don't know what the whole story is. You know, you could have 300 people and be making loads of money. You know, you could have 30,000 people be selling products and they're not selling. So, you know, just because you've got a big audience doesn't mean you've got the sales there. So engage with your customers and who they are. So create that community. Video is great. I think if you can be the face of your brand, I would definitely recommend this. You know, there's so many people who say, you know, as soon as they did start doing talkie stories, which, you know, can feel really awkward, but as soon as you start doing it, it will get more comfortable, I promise. But yeah, sort of be the face. But yeah, look at what's worked when you are on social, and yeah, keep replicating that in new ways as well. So, and I think even just with social, it's really interesting because obviously I'm not like a queen of marketing in any way. You know, I'm like, oh god, it would be really great if I had more engagement on my, or more likes on my stories or whatever. But I know that I can get good saves on my stories. I know I get good engagement. I know I get clients. So, you know, it's, you know, you've kind of got to, it's, you know, it's really personal. There's a couple of people, there's the Social Teacup, who I just someone recommended and I followed the other day, and Vix Meldrew, who are amazing on social. You know, that's their job. So I think, you know, look outside for help, but don't, you know, don't listen to everything that you can listen to. Basically, like, you guys are here right tonight with me. I'm sharing stuff with you, but you know, you don't have to take on all this advice. It's up to you. You know, you've got to like work out what is best for you. So, you know, be picky about who you listen to as well. So let me just have a look at the comments. Sarah, I did see that, Sarah. I wondered if you had a cat on your noteboard or something. Thalia, internet's breaking, it's got to go. And then Bex, can you remember any accessible Pinterest for business strategies? Loved using it for myself. Yeah. So in terms of Pinterest, I would definitely recommend Rachel Emma Waring. She's really great, and she's got lots of I'm sure she's got lots of free content that you can use as well. So I would definitely start there. Right. We've still got a lot of questions. I don't know whether to do this as like a different event or something. I'm happy to keep going, but I feel like it's going to be at least another half an hour. So let me know how people are feeling. So Thalia has said, I've been making stock to order as a new business, but because I'm scared I'll make stock candles that won't sell, but I've had an influx of orders, which is making it feel like everything is out of control. What is best to do? Hold off on marketing until and then her question cuts off. So I think with this, it's great that, yeah, you're not having too much, you know, stock, because that you don't want to create all this stock and it be sitting there and it's not selling. But the thing is, if you've started selling and you've got that data, you know, you can then start predicting what is going to sell. So if you've got bestsellers, then reviewing what is selling and then make more of your bestsellers. Don't make everything that in your range, for example. But then think about batching your time, so you can create, you know, say more candles or whatever it is you create. And maybe it's a case of, particularly with, if you're making to order or you're making your products, but doing those like little mini shop updates, you know, releases, you know, sort of telling people, right, I'm going to be stocking my shop with 50 new candles, or, you know, in these scents at this time. So it creates a bit of hype around it, and then you can sort of sell out in like launches as well. Create that sort of scarcity, but in a good way. And take people behind the scenes. So like let people know that this is what goes into when you're creating all of your products. Francesca. Just 21. Right. So Francesca's asked to send out freebies in inverted commas to influencers or not. My product is relatively low cost, so it probably costs me £10 per single item. So again, with this, it's just all these different ways that you can market your products. So I would, first off, if you're looking at influencers, look at who you've already got to shout you out, or who has shared your product, and what has worked, for example. So who has shared your product and it has resulted in followers, but also, and more importantly, sales. And then think about why this is. So for example, if you had a mummy blogger share your products and it sold really well, then maybe you need to go after more mummy bloggers. Or it's a mummy blogger who is not the perfect Instagram type, it's the more who like one who keeps it real. So, you know, really looking at who shared your item and how that worked. Then think about how you can do in terms of influencers. Maybe it's a case of you don't give free products to them all, but, you know, maybe it's a case of you ask them if you can do a takeover on their stories. Maybe you can do a guest post on their blog or podcast if they have one. You know, just think about different ways you can connect with their audience without, you know, sending out products every time. But I think you really want to, again, have that, don't go in cold, engage with them before you do this. Don't just be like, can I feature on your page, you know, and they have no idea who you are. But have a look at, you know, it doesn't have to be massive influence as well. Look at sort of more micro influencers who maybe have between like 5 and 10,000 followers, but you know, really look at their engagement as well. There's an Instagram account called Joy, and she, if you scroll through her highlights, I think it's called Biz Tips, but she's got tips on influencer gifting that are really good. She did them, it was probably like a year ago or more, but they're really good. Yeah, no worries, people. Emily, yes, I did get your question. It is right at the end. So Komal from Design Palette, what are your suggestions for people who find selling difficult? So I think everything when it comes to selling is, I think when you think of selling, you kind of think of what's the you know, Matilda's dad, you know, from the film Matilda or the book Matilda, you know, really slimy car salesman. So, you know, I think when we think about selling, we think of all these really cringy estate agent type, you know, car salesman, I can sell ice to an Eskimo type thing. So I want you to think about a really good sales experience that you've had yourself. You know, maybe you went into a little independent shop, or you know, or you just were talking to someone and they were just, you know, having a conversation with you, human to human, and, you know, just like telling you about them about your product. So think about a really good sales experience. You also need to be really sold on yourself. So selling is a lot of mindset. So it's like getting deep, but like really diving into that. But particularly with selling, you're not ripping people off. So, you know, if that is something you think, you know, you know, there's no, you can't think of any, you know, that might be a bit of a belief in the back of your mind, but you need to sort of like flip that switch. If, you know, basically when you're selling to people, it's none of your business what they can or can not afford. You are basically just providing your customers with an experience and a product to make them feel good, make them more money, save them time, or have a transformational experience. That is basically what people buy when they buy products. So, you know, you've really got to think about what is the benefit that they get from buying your product. They get, you know, and it's particularly with creative products, they get to gift maybe a gift, you know, that makes them look amazing, that they look really thoughtful, or that they have this nice hair accessory or nice home accessory that people come around and go, oh my God, where'd you get that from? So, you know, what is the benefit? Customers are just thinking about themselves. They are not thinking about you. They are just thinking about themselves. So, you know, really think about that. And then look, if you've got any customer testimonials, reviews, or DMs or like private messages with customers, use the words they use in your product descriptions. Don't translate it, just transcribe it. You just want to use the words they use. Like I said, talk about the benefits, add that value, but just get into that good mindset. I think if you're about to go on and launch, for example, on Instagram, you just need to get into a good mindset first. So dance around, you know, have a good, you know, like shake off any bad energy, but yeah, get yourself into a good mindset when you're going on to sell. But yeah, service over selling. Cool. Right. Still got a few more. So Amalia. So any advice on getting accepted to NOTHS, basically notonhighstreet.com, apart from having great photos, would be great. So key to getting us accepted onto Not on High Street, one of the key things is good photography. I'm really sorry to say it, but they are so, notonhighstreet.com, they were fussy before, they're even more fussy now with who they take on. You do need really good photography, like, because if particularly you could go on there, but they will only promote you if you've got good photography, or they can get your product in and shoot it themselves, which they're not doing as much because of COVID this year. So good photography is really key. If you can't take good photography yourself, definitely think about investing in a photographer. I know it can feel like a big expense, or work with people who are like just starting out. I would say photographers aren't stylists, so definitely have a good idea about how you want to style your product as well. But yeah, good photography really is key. You also need to have quite unique products, nothing similar to what they have on the site. I would also say with this though, one of my clients, Hazel and Blue, is a candle company. So she's got candles, and then I worked with her on a range of candle making kits. She applied to notonhighstreet.com, she got rejected. Her kits are amazing. Like, they would definitely be something NOTHS would like. I was like, do not take no for an answer, go back to them. You know, because I think if they just looked at her website, they'll be like, oh, it's a candle company, you know, reject, we've got enough candles. She went back to them. She was really specific about, right, I want to sell these products on your site. This is why I'm going to explain why they really suit your customer. This is what else is coming up in my product development. This is what my packaging looks like. She got accepted. Her sales have soared on there. She is now in their campaigns. She's doing really well. So I think with Not on High Street, good photography, and if you do have a wide range, or maybe ranges that maybe aren't as applicable for them, just be really specific with maybe certain products that you want to show them. Alicia from Single Swan. So I think Alicia's left. So What one business tip do most people not do? E.g., is there a glaringly obvious thing that most people starting out do not do? Maybe setting up a business bank account, having a landing page for their business. So one, definitely have a business bank account, a separate business bank account. I would definitely recommend that. This is a massive question. So there's so many things that, you know, you should do. But I think know your customer is a really important one. I know everyone bangs on about it, but really know your customer. Another thing is businesses can really overspend on stock. So start small, like, and sell out, learn. You know, when you're just starting selling, you have no sales data, you do not know what's going to sell. 80% of your sale comes from 20% of your range as well. So it's just really start small with your products, you know, maybe 6 to 10 products, and, you know, not having any more than 50 of each is something that I would recommend. And start small and own it. So there's a few sort of tips before starting out. So Georgina, do not only take on brands that are making things themselves. No, they do take on like boutiques. So they do take on, yeah, boutiques who buy products in. But again, they don't want duplication on their site. So you'll just have to really look at what they currently have, and yeah, what you can, how you're different basically. So Emily said, I need to increase my, I'm not doing time things at all now. Emily, 31. Emily, I need to increase my prices this Christmas and I'm really worried about it. Is it fair considering, it is fair considering the value of the handmade product, but I don't want to over explain my position. Not sure how or whether to communicate this to my customers. So one, you definitely need to make sure you're making enough money. If you're not making enough money, then there's no point in being in business. You don't want an expensive hobby or losing money. You want at least a 60% profit margin after all your costs. Like I said, that needs to raise up to sort of 70-80%. If you're looking to wholesale, you can have a lesser profit margin, like I was just saying, when you're just starting out, because you've got a smaller range and you're just testing. But then you want to, when you are, you know, getting more slick with your processes, you're ordering more stock, that kind of thing, or elements to make your product, then those prices will go down. But I think with this, you can spin it in a way that feels good for you. So if you are going to be raising your prices, you know, maybe let your customers know your prices are being raised and they're going up after this date, particularly if they're going to go up in the new year. Maybe it's a case of you spin it kind of like a January sale in a certain way, that actually after this price, after this time, the prices will be up. This is sort of like my January sale, as it were. But I think you've just got to talk about the value, the benefit to the customers, show them that process so they can see why your products cost what they do, basically. And, you know, maybe it's a case of, you know, you do this on social media, but, you know, you add these kind of photos of the process to your product pages as well. So Nikki, I was trying to make sure I get through all of these questions. There's 3 more, nearly there. Thanks to everyone who is still around. So Nikki, how do you maintain consistency with your business, particularly showing up on Instagram when your energy is low or is being taken up with other issues in your life? Good question. So I was definitely there this year. I, you know, really took some time out for personal reasons right at the start. You know, I was not showing up. And it's hard, you know, especially this year with COVID. You know, there's been times where I'm like, I really do not want to show up. So I think with this is you've kind of got to give yourself a break. You know, particularly showing up on Instagram, if you're not feeling like it, can just make you feel worse. So you kind of want to give yourself that grace and give yourself that time to just work through those feelings, feel through those feelings, and then come out the other side, and give yourself space to do things to get you back up into a better mindset as well. So having maybe a bit of a happy list might be good here. So you can just, again, listen to some music, do some journaling, do some yoga, dance around. It's really personal to you that, you know, I can't tell you what to do, but you can do what you need to do to make yourself feel better. The one thing you can do when you want to be more consistent is plan ahead. So having that content calendar and have some plans in place and having some content written. So I think it's really good to have some spontaneity in your content for sure, but maybe it's a case of, say, you want to post 4 times a week on Instagram. So you write 3 posts for the week, and then the other post you make more as on a spontaneous, you know, you're responding to what's going on that week, what your customers are saying, or what you're feeling. So, and then you can sort of see how that's working for you. But if you can pre-write some content, you can have a plan in that I'm going to send a newsletter here, I'm going to have a blog post here, I'm going to have this many social media posts a week. And again, just batch those days so that when you're creating content. But I think in terms of, it's particularly showing up on stories, if you can just like document your day, I know it might feel like really boring to you, but if you can document your day and, you know, just again, showing people your processes, then I think that's a good way to show up online. But yeah, if it's mindset, it's, you know, you've really just got to find out to get back into your happy space, because, you know, it's so easy to just go down that spiral. So I hope that helped. And then Vicky, so 6. So Vicky from the Stitch Stylist, my product takes a long time to produce, but I'm looking for ways to scale up my business so I can make some proper money and even make money whilst I sleep. Any thoughts? So this is massive question again, but I did have a look at Vicky's range, and actually Vicky is someone who I followed on Instagram on another account for a while. So, but yeah, Stitch Stylist, so she does lots of embroidery bits. So I think if you want to scale up your business so you can make some proper money, again, look at your profit margin. Are you making enough money on your product, and do you need to charge more for it? And when I say charge more for it, you need to take into account your time as well. So I've actually just released like a new sort of digital downloads of how to analyze your sales, and also a profit margin spreadsheet that's like a few digital downloads on my shop. So there's a profit margin spreadsheet in there where you can put in all your product costs, your dispatch costs, your packaging costs, and then your hourly rate. So there's a retail and a maker tab on that spreadsheet as well. So making sure you are charging enough money for your products, charge what you need. And if that is going to push the price up on that certain product, and you want like a I say cheaper, but another price point to offer to your customers, then particularly with Vicky at the Stitch Stylist, you know, it's something like you offer one with like less embroidery on, for example, or maybe it's like screen printed or with just a little bit of embroidery on, for example. But yeah, you've got to make sure your product's working for you and is making you enough money, basically. And in terms of making money where you sleep, I mean, how do you want to do that? So, you know, I think with this, I mean, I wrote down a course on embroidery, you know, or a PDF, but again, brainstorm all your ideas down. That's huge. There's so many things you could do, and it's what is going to appeal most to you. So brainstorm all your ideas, you know, do some market research, ask what your customers sort of like, what are their pain points, what are their desires, what do they want to learn, and then combine that with your ideas and like merge them together, basically, and then work towards developing that as an idea. So I hope that helped. And last question, Emily, thanks for hanging around. So Emily, how do I broaden my audience to other things? I sell pet portraits, but really want to do more custom things as well, stuff inspired by houseplants, mental and chronic health. These other things just aren't as popular in sales or when I post though. So So I spoke to Emily earlier about her product range in the academy, in Holly's Business Academy. So I think with this, Emily, is want to broaden out. So it might be worth doing some market research with your customers. So really asking them, you know, maybe sending out a survey to your mailing list, or putting, you know, a call out on Instagram, you know, putting the link in your bio, you know, finding out what your customer, you know, what your customer likes to do in their spare time, where do they hang out, what are their interests. But yeah, just asking them some questions. And, you know, and if it is particularly about houseplants, mental health and things like that, you know, ask them how they find their mental health, for example. You know, be specific, but ask like open-ended questions as well. So, you know, do you how do you find your mental health, and then maybe have like a drop down, like some like polls so they can tick one. You know, do you want to, if you were to buy art related to your mental health, you know, to boost your mindset, what, you know, would you buy art related, you know, to boosting your mindset? Or, you know, or how would you buy that product? You know, is it a print, is it stationery? You know, I think you just need to get some more specific questions with them, like asking them what they want to hear about. Maybe putting up some, you know, sketches, some like sneak peeks of like what you're thinking about as well, and get them to vote, you know. But I think if you ask people, do they like something, most people will say yes, because they're pretty nice. But, you know, maybe just ask, you know, just ask some more specific questions about how, you know, would they gift a product like this, for example. But I think particularly with this, if it is around mental and chronic health, if you've got experience, you know, with that and houseplants and how that like impacts your mood, then sort of tell the sort of story behind that as well, and like get people interested in the purpose, your why behind it as well. So Emily said they're all a lot more interested in the dog illustrations. I'll do some more specific market research too. So yeah, so, you know, maybe it's a case that you're, you know, and there's a way that you can transition your audience as well, if that is something that you want to do. But yeah, I think you've got a deep dive in. So I think this is something that we can probably work with, yeah, in the academy. So a bit of a, yeah, exactly. So I think, because I think you've got to be, you've obviously got to be really passionate about what you sell as well. So if you can, what am I trying to say? If you can, you know, if you sort of keep talking about it, you know, if as well, I think if you think about your range, if you know pet portraits are going to bring in 70 to 80% of your sales, then you talk about that 70-80% on your social media. So it doesn't mean you can't talk about the other products to then grow that as well. Yeah, I don't want to move away from pet things. You just want, yeah, the other things to come in. So yeah, and that's why then you can look at the balance of how you promote it as well. So you talk about the pets more 70-80% of the time, but you still talk about the other things. And I think it might be interesting as well on another call to actually look at how much you have talked about the plants and the mental health and the chronic health prints, because actually maybe you've just not talked about it enough with people. So yeah, anyway, I hope that helped. I don't know how many questions that was in the end. That was a lot. And I did, let me just have a look. And then other Emily, Millie Chip, I relate to this question a lot. So cool, need to run. Thank you for joining, Emily. So yeah, so thanks everyone for joining. It was, yeah, really great. So yeah, please feel free to share, tag on Instagram. Always happy, lovely to hear from you guys. And yeah, and if, like I said, I've mentioned a few resources on like my website, so do go check those out. Or if you've got any questions. I do work with people one-to-one or in different ways, so yeah, always happy to chat about that as well. But yeah, thanks so much for taking your Wednesday night out to join me. I really appreciate it, and thanks to everyone who stayed to the end as well. So dedication. Cool. But yeah, appreciate you all, and yeah, I'm glad you found it useful. Thanks so much. Chat to you soon. Bye.